Thanks, Ben, for the intro. My daughters are looking at me like I'm crazy. Anyway, this is a comparison test that I did, and first of all, I'd just like to say that anybody watching this video right now, I really don't like you. I did this for my entertainment only, and if you get something out of it, it was purely unintentional by me. What I'm going to do today is compare several batteries, and we're going to start. These are all 18650 batteries. I'll just go down the line and tell you what they are. Number one is the Panasonic NCR 18650 PD. It is a 2900 milliamp hour battery with a 10 amp discharge rate. Number two is the IMR 1600 milliamp hour battery. Number three is the MNKE IMR 1500 milliamp battery. Number four is the Sony IMR 1600 milliamp hour battery. Number five is Trustfire IMR 1500 milliamp battery. And number six is the Panasonic CGR 18650CH 10 amp 2250 milliamp hour battery. And what I did was I used an Ihybrid standard. I have two of each battery. Dog keeps getting in my way. I have two of each battery. I fully charged the batteries, measured them prior to discharge, averaged that together, discharged each battery 3 times, measured the top voltage that I received during the discharge, got 6 total, divided it by 6, minus the resting voltage, or minus it from the resting voltage, and came up with my voltage drop for each battery. So, how did they do? And we're going to make this quick because I don't want to sit here yammering on straight on through. Alright, so first of all, the lowest voltage drop was the Sony IMR. It had a 0.42 voltage drop average, okay, on this device here. 0.42 volts, okay. It also had the highest of the test, firing off at 3.77 volts to the coil. Number two, for the lowest voltage drop, was the AW IMR with 0.646 volts. Next was the Panasonic 2250. Fourth was the MNKE. Fifth was the Trustfire. And sixth was the Panasonic 2900. Now, from top to bottom, these are all excellent batteries. I'm going to say that right here, right now. Get that straight. As far as power output is concerned, they all did very well. The lowest voltage drop was 0.42 on the Sony. The highest voltage drop on the Panasonic was 0.56. So you're only looking at a 0.14 difference between the number 1 to the number 6. Not much at all, really. Not compared to like the 26650 test that we did yesterday. Okay, next I based a consistency test. And what I did basically was I took all of the voltages that fired off, all 6 voltages, took the highest minus the lowest, and got a number in between that basically showed, you know, from high to low what the averages were on this battery. The most consistent battery was the MNKE. Second was the Panasonic 2250. Third was the Sony. Fourth was the AWIMR. Fifth was the Trustfire. And sixth was the Panasonic 2900. Okay? And again, pretty consistent. The Panasonic was a little far off. I think it was like 0.3 or something. It was pretty, no, yeah, 0.32. The MNKE from number 1 to number 6, there was only 0.06 voltage difference in all of the tests that I did on it. So this is an extremely consistent battery, extremely consistent. And quite powerful too. It only had 0.5 of a voltage drop as well. Okay, the third thing that I was judging these batteries on was the milliamp hours. The reason I'm using that number here instead of the amperage is I'm going to use the amp current on my next test, which is going to be on drippers with extremely low resistance. The milliamp hour test I use because the coil that I have on this Ihybrid is 5 wraps of 28 gauge and it comes out to 0.8 ohms. That's kind of an everyday average wrap for most of us in here, so that's what I went with. So, being that, you know, we have some that are 10 amp max discharge, we have some that are 30. I didn't pull that into the equation because all of these batteries are safe to fire with the coil that I'm using, like an everyday average type thing. So the one with the best milliamp hours, Panasonic 2900. Second was the Panasonic 2250. Third was a tie between Sony and the AW at 1600 milliamps. And last was a tie between the MNKE and the TrustFire battery. Okay, so I took all of these and scored them 1 through 6 or 6 through 1, top being getting the most points and so forth, and came up with a battery that was number 1 through 6. The 6th place battery, and well deserved, last place battery, was the TrustFire. Like I said, this battery is decent for the price. I think I got the pair for $10, but and it's not bad. It's a very long battery too, but you know, it fits. It did all right. Inside of the Ihybrid APV, the button was sticking way out on it, but power is decent, consistent, cheap. But again, you know, I just don't have a whole lot of hope that this one's a great battery. 5th place was the Panasonic 2900, and this one I did like because of the longevity of the milliamp hours, and it's, you know, relatively consistent on the higher end voltages, but it kind of jumped all around struggling with this low ohm coil. 4th was the MNKE, and I really did like this more than I thought I was going to, this battery here. The consistency on it, you know, to me is important, and this one did really well, but it was still, on the scores that I used, came up in 4th place. 3rd was the AW IMR, and again, super high power output. It was number 2 on the voltage drop, so it's right up there, just underneath, just got edged out by the Sony. But it's, you know, like I said, in this testing, the way that I have it set up with the low milliamp hours and, you know, being 4th in consistency, it wound up being in 3rd place. 2nd place is the Sony. Sony is the most powerful battery of the bunch. Consistency was a little off. It was 3rd. And the milliamp hours are, you know, runs a little short. It did have the highest, like I said, the highest voltage spike of the group at 3.77, okay? Number 1, I was very surprised. Well, kind of. And actually this is the only battery in the bunch that's been used some, so maybe that has a little something to do with it. Extremely consistent, number 2. It was right up under AWIMR. Very low voltage drop, and the milliamp hours put it over the top, and it really does hold a charge a lot longer than some of these other batteries. You know, I've tried and had, you know, MNKEs in the past, AWs, and they do not hold their power like this one does. So, using the lowest voltage drop, most consistent, and the best milliamp hours averaged together, the Panasonic 2250 wins my 18650 battery smackdown. Fuck you.